Maybe I'll just jump in while I've got the mic. I loved those simple demonstrations. Your folding of time one really made sense to me, and I loved the way you represented the grandfather paradox too by just eliminating those little stickmen or whatever it was. So thank you for simplifying in many ways and for having the courage to take on such an amazing topic and present it publicly here today. And yeah, so now you're going to field some questions.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there will be lots, but in celebration of the advisors, we'll begin with them. Thank you very much to all of you for your contribution to Twyla's, Miss Frid's journey today. So first up, to Reed, or Jen.
Ms. Frid, you've done an excellent job today and an excellent job through the whole year. So I was very pleased to work with you, despite what you said. I did not just survive your topic, I actually learned tons, which was amazing. I'm going to ask you an easy question because we have two advisors with a lot of brain power behind them. And so my question for you is, how did you get started in this? And if you could go back to your experience at Columbia University.
Okay, so I have always been interested in the really strange and complicated things that a lot of people perceive as impossible. My brain works very differently than everyone else's because I'm really dyslexic. So I actually understand this way more than I understand something like grammar. And I just think it's so cool, and I like solving puzzles, and I think everything about this is just solving a puzzle. And yeah, I went to a lecture at Columbia University, and it was so eye-opening, and it was really interesting. It was actually taught by a famous physicist, and it was just a class of like 14 people, and he was one of the best teachers I've ever seen. And I'm from a school with incredible teachers.
So, Ms. Frid, first of all, thanks for a great presentation, and thanks for all your super hard work on this. This is not an easy topic, and you really did a ton of great work. I'm going to ask, when we were first looking at this topic, we were kind of looking through some YouTube videos to get some of the basics down. And one of the things I first ran across was a guy who was a relativity denialist. And my question for you is, what tools do you use to evaluate scientific claims and counterclaims found on the web?
Well, I think the first thing you look for is an actual application of it, and if the actual application works. So relativity is used in satellites that help with GPS, so location, and because they're moving at a different speed and they're in a different gravitational force, and if there wasn't relativity in those satellites for correcting, well, not relativity, but using the application of theory of relativity, it would not be so accurate, and actually would go slightly and slightly more off of locations. Also, looking for data or very strong support behind the theory from multiple different experiments and companies or projects. So it's not just from one source, and so they can fabricate it, but looking for very concrete evidence from multiple different sources.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Frid, what I'd like to ask you a little bit about is the experience of time and relativity. As you mentioned in your presentation, most of us are not going to have experiences of relativistic time dilation, at least not in a noticeable sense. But we've definitely treated the ideas in our fiction, and some of our astronauts have had some sort of experience like this. Do you anticipate relativistic time dilation becoming a part of our everyday experience? And if so, how?
I personally believe that one day we are going to leave this planet, maybe have only some people, but start colonizing other worlds, and they will have a different gravitational force acting on it, even if very slightly. And they'll they'll be in a different reference frame, meaning that the farther we venture out, and if we start colonizing close to a black hole, time dilation will become extremely in effect. And that's the point that we need to start understanding or deciding where, kind of what is the standard or time. Like for us, I think London is if that's the time basis, that's what everything goes off of that, either plus or minus off of that. So we need to find, maybe the Earth will be that, or something has to be the time that we count as the unit for everything, because it will start moving at different speeds, and they won't notice potentially. So yeah, figure it out. Yeah.
Whoa, these are tough. Okay, here we go. Some of your fellow classmates.
Great job, Miss Frid. I was wondering, how does time dilation come into effect with the photo of the black hole?
Okay, so the photo of the black hole was taken of a black hole that's extremely far away from us, meaning that the light that's reaching us, that's hitting the telescopes, is already old, meaning that's what we're seeing with the black hole looked like a very long time ago, and that's without time dilation into effect, meaning that because it is a black hole, there's even a stronger gravitational force acting on it, meaning that that black hole could be way closer. Well, the light that we're seeing could have been way closer to the Big Bang than we are now, because we view the Big Bang as being 13.8 billion years ago. But potentially, maybe for the black hole, it was more like 12 billion years ago when that light was produced, because of time dilation and because of the time that it's taking us for the light to reach us.
Here's the next one.
Amazing job, Miss Frid. I was just wondering if you believe that humans invented the concept of time.
Honestly, I don't know. Because, well, with space, there's always time. They're connected. They are one. We just perceive them as different things. So we have a perception of time that I don't think is completely accurate to what time actually is. We don't know what it is. So our perception of it, I think we've kind of made up. But time is a thing, but we don't know if time is how we perceive it.
Good job, Miss Frid. What made Einstein think of general relativity?
Okay, so this is a question that me and my dad were talking about the other day. I have in my presentation the reason for special relativity and how I thought of that. But how me and my dad perceive or think about this is maybe so the speed of light is a constant, right? So if you increase the distance that the light has to travel, so will the time. And if you increase the time that it's allowed to travel, so the distance will also decrease. Meaning that there's a corresponding relationship between each other, and maybe that was the cause for the thought of the space-time continuum. I don't know, though. That was just off the top.
Excellent job. This question might be a little hard, but you said time travel could be possible if we were able to move at the speed of light. What if we stopped moving altogether?
That's interesting. So, that's a really good question. One, I don't even know if it's possible to not be moving, because we're on our Earth is moving, we're in a solar system that's moving, we're in a galaxy that's moving, and then everything around us is moving, and including the universe. So I don't know, one, if it would be completely possible to stop moving, but if we did, we would experience time that would be it would elapse extremely fast compared to our current reference frame, but I don't know if we would be able to tell the difference.
Great job, Miss Frid. I was just wondering, do you personally believe in the existence of wormholes, and why or why not?
I don't, so there's something called Einstein-Rosen Bridges, which is a theory that Einstein proposed over wormholes, that every black hole is a wormhole, and there's another side to it that's a white hole, but it takes an infinite amount to cross, and it lets out to like an opposite universe. Everything runs opposite, time runs the other direction, everything does. I don't personally believe in those. I think that it would be possible to create a wormhole if we could harness something called exotic matter, a certain type of it, that would keep it open. And there's also, I won't go into this, but there's something called very old special relativity wormholes that I think could potentially exist if special relativity ever gets proven, but as long as it doesn't, I don't believe in those.
Ms. Frid, okay, so you mentioned how there was someone who traveled 0.02 seconds into the future, or in the past, can't remember. So if we were to interact with him, would we be messing with time?
Not necessarily, because so he aged 0.02 seconds less than us. So when he came down, he just traveled that much into the future, meaning that one, it's a very, very small amount of time to travel, and two, he's now moving at the same rate as us, so we're not really messing with time. And also, all of our feet are slightly younger than our head. So. I think I said that the right way. It might be the opposite. But.
If I were standing on a black hole and somehow I wasn't spaghettified and I shone a flashlight straight up, what would happen to the light? Would it have to reverse its course and go into the gravity of the black hole? Because then it would have to slow or simply reverse without losing any speed. Or would it just go up without being affected?
Because it is not moving towards the black hole singularity, I think it would move straight up because there is light surrounding the black hole or plasma or something that is staying there and is slowly getting sucked in. So that is still staying there, meaning that I think it would be able to escape, but I'm not 100% sure.
Ms. Frid, a huge congratulations for tackling such an incredibly difficult subject. The theories that Einstein proposed are over 100 years old, and I would say most of the people in this room still don't really grasp it, so I think it's just incredible that you're tackling something just so deep. So I had a bit of an esoteric question for you. You outlined through the twin paradox that the faster you're going, or the faster you're traveling through time, the slower time seems to you. And I'm wondering if you thought whether light actually feels time.
That's really interesting. Well, I don't know how to answer that because I have no idea and I've never really thought about that before. But time, yeah, because maybe light would perceive. Well, the thing is the speed of light itself is kind of there's lots of variables around it, meaning that there's nothing with mass can move at the speed of light. So, and we perceive everything from a point of view of having mass, but maybe, yeah, I think time would be potentially running slower for light, but it has no consciousness, so I don't know if it would tell.
Mr. That was remarkable. I think it's fair to say most grade 9 students before they're doing a Masterworks are nervous. Sometimes I talk to students before their presentation and I say, oh, don't worry, you know more than everyone in the audience. And I have to confess in my little conceited inside head, but not more than me. And I have to say with this presentation, you got me hooped. I mean, I understood some things. I liked your universal speed limit. It was cool. I liked the wormhole demo. I liked the grandfather paradox. I like spaghettification. I liked all that stuff. I don't get there's no distinction between past and future in physics. I don't get that. I don't get the faster you go, the slower time moves. I don't actually get that. I understand that. You kind of throw in this, it depends on the inertial reference frame, you say. Like, oh yeah, right, the inertial reference frame. I don't really have a question, I have an observation. Listening to you speak, I'm thinking of mathematicians and musicians and artists and scientists who sometimes end up speaking in their own language. And it's pretty clear to me that you're on that level. You're speaking that language. This little guy asked a question, you speak in the same language, and you're speaking that language, and I think you've done it incredibly well. Well done.
Thank you.
Great job, Miss Frid. So now that you've done this Masterworks project on space-time dilation, do you think that in the future you'll want to go into this subject for like your job or something?
Well, I'm an extremely indecisive human being, and I find many things really interesting, but this is definitely one of the things that I really would consider going into, even though I'm scared that if I do it, I might just start living in my head and thinking about the universe all the time and not being grounded down here. But I think there's a high probability I might.
Okay, we've got a few more questions in the house.
Ms. Frid, brilliant job, which was totally what I expected. I am like Ted, where much of this is going straight over my head. But could you talk about what's motivated you through this process of doing this project?
I find it extremely interesting, and I'm a very curious human being, and I think something that's always made me wonder is just what's out there and how does that affect us. And I think so that was one thing, and then also, as I said earlier, I did go to a lecture at Columbia University, not knowing going in that it was one of the best ranked universities in the world. I thought it was just some university in Upper New York where my grandma lived near, but it was so eye-opening, and I have pages and pages of notes from that lecture that helped me throughout my entire presentation. I think that was one of my main drivers and one of the main really great kind of things that helped me throughout my project.
Thank you.
Great presentation, Ms. Frid. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I had a question about the universal speed limit.
Okay.
So imagine you're a universal police officer out there. Has anybody ever, or has not anybody, but relative to our reference point, has anybody measured the fastest moving object, and what is that speed like?
Well, they've tested the speed of light multiple times to get, and it always turns out as that. That's how they figured out it was a constant. Nothing with mass can go at the speed of light, because I haven't researched this in a while, but I think the closer you go to the speed of light, the more your mass increases. Or decreases, I don't know which way. But so meaning it's impossible to move at the speed of light, and it would take an infinite amount of fuel to move at the speed of light. So, yeah, I don't know what one of the fastest things, but the rocket ships go pretty fast. And then there was also, I don't know what this is called, but they sent maybe a proton or an atom or something around this tube really fast, and that went pretty close, I think. I don't remember that. That was something I read like 2 years ago. So.
Lots of thought happening here.
Are there other questions about time? And if so, are you curious about solving them?
Yeah, I am really curious. Something I was thinking about recently is as to do with Jasmine's question, we perceive the Big Bang to be 13.8 billion years ago, but that's in our reference frame, and maybe another reference frame that wasn't as long ago or as longer ago. So how do we really distinguish any ages of things when there's such a variation depending on so many variables? And there's many more, but I can't think of any right now.
Ms. Frid, so I have a question about the light clocks.
Okay.
How big are they?
So, a light clock is completely theoretical, but I guess it would have to be about 300 million meters high for 1 second. So, yeah, pretty tall.
If you could meet Einstein, what would you ask him?
Oh, that's a really hard question. What was the initial thought that made you think of these theories, and what made you think that they were correct to begin with?
Great answer. All right, well, I think we've put you on the hot seat enough here, Ms. Frid. So